We have a quorum, and it's 8:30. I call the meeting to order. Item number 1, confirmation of minutes. Minutes of the meeting held on the 12th of December last year has been sent to members. The Secretariat has not received any proposals for amendments. I ask members to confirm the minutes. No questions, meeting confirmed. Information papers issued since the last meeting. There are 9 information papers sent to members. You'll find the details on the revised agenda as at the 4th of February. One of them is an information paper related to a legislative proposal. The deadline, that is noon on the 3rd of February, we have not received any requests for discussion of this paper. And in relation to information item of a LegCo research paper, we have asked members if they would like to have a discussion on this. We have sent a letter to the SF&OC, and they have given us some information. Shall we send this report to the SF&OC for their reference? Mr. Ma would like us to send this report to those organizations that have been interviewed. We will do so if there are no objections, and I thank the bodies for participating. Well, the draft of the report has been informed on the 12th of December, and members who have attended a note about the inquiries for information and the information supplied. Following past practice, the Secretariat will send a report to organizations and bodies who have participated in this study. You will find the report on the website of the LegCo. Next is item 3, dates of next meeting and items for discussion. There is the list of outstanding items for discussion and a list of follow-up actions. The next meeting will take place on the 20th of March, Friday at 8:30 in the morning at Conference Room 1. There are 3 items for discussion. First, review of the Chinese Temples Ordinance is item 1 on the list of outstanding items. This is a legislative proposal. The second one is the signature projects. Central and Western District Council, Islands District Council, and North District Council. This is item 2 on the list. This involves capital works and funding application. The third one is outcome of the public consultation on the administration's proposals to amend the Hotel and Guest House Accommodation Ordinance. They would like to report to us on this matter. This is also related to legislative proposal. So there are 3 items for next meeting. Members, do you have anything to say? Well, there are already 3 items. I ask members to set aside sufficient time for discussion. We propose to have 3 hours in the next meeting for discussion. That is 8:30 to 11:30. Next item is a briefing by the Secretary for Home Affairs on the policy address. Let's invite the administration to join us. Information paper has been sent to members. Is paper number CB bracket 2637/14 to 15 bracket 03. It's a paper provided by the HAB. There are other relevant documents. They are the policy address. I'm sure you have it. You have got it. And the other one is the 2015 policy agenda booklet. Now, all members are invited to join us in the discussion of this item. Good morning. When you're all ready, I will ask Mr. Chang Tak-sing, the Secretary, for taking us through the paper. We have with us Mr. Zhang, Secretary for Home Affairs, Ms. Florence Hui, Under-Secretary, Mrs. Betty Fong Ching, Permanent Secretary. And we have Mr. Jack Chan, Director of Home Affairs Acting, Ms. Michelle Lee, Director of Leisure and Cultural Services. When you're ready, Secretary. Members, Chairman, good morning. The Chief Executive delivered the policy address last month. In relation to the portfolio of the HAB, we have already submitted a paper to members. Today I'm here to listen to members' views. I'm not going to go into details about the information in the policy address. I'm not going to read out everything in my speaking notes because this has been given to members. First, in relation to youth development, we attach importance to our youth work. A number of places in the policy address, the Chief Executive talked about work on our youth. The HAB will work together with the administration in this regard. We'll continue to cooperate with the Commission on Youth and other stakeholders to promote multifaceted excellence and all-round development. In 2015 and 16, we will enhance our funding, our resources devoted so that more youngsters will be able to participate in exchange and internship with the mainland. We reckon that the number of youngsters who will participate this year will be 19,000. Under the International Youth Exchange Program, we will organize more overseas exchange activities to broaden the horizons of our youngsters. We will further promote our work on youth voluntary work so that more opportunities will be given to our youngsters to serve different people in different places. The services core project will be regularized so that the youngsters will have the opportunity to go to remote places to do voluntary work. We will, together with 3 voluntary organizations in Hong Kong and the United Nations Volunteers, to launch the Hong Kong United Nations Youth Volunteers Program for local university students to participate in a 6-month voluntary work program. In the summer, we will launch the Guangdong Hong Kong Youth Volunteers Program for university students of the 2 places in an exchange to do some voluntary work. $300 million will be set aside to set up a youth development fund to fund activities that are not covered by other programs. This will be in the form of a matching fund together with NGOs to support our youngsters in starting their own businesses. We are consulting the Commission on Youth on the operation details. Shortly afterwards, we will make a funding application from the FC. We will announce the application details later. In relation to the youth program, it is going as scheduled. The 2 earliest projects, that is one in Xiangwan, one in Taipo, we have already finished with the preliminary consultancy study. And that the other 2 projects one in Mongkok, one in Jordan. The NGO responsible is preparing for the preliminary consultancy studies. We'll continue to liaise with interested NGOs to launch more projects. Earlier on, Dr. Lee Seow-Kee indicated that he would donate a piece of land in Yuen Long Ma Tin Pok to Po Leung Kok for the development of youth hostel. We welcome that, and we are liaising with the Po Leung Kok and the relevant departments on the details. On sports development, we have accepted the recommendation on the commission of the Sports Commission, and we will continue to promote the development of local football. And the LCSD will continue to provide resources to organize various activities, trainings, and various training programs to NSAs. We're also very concerned about sports development for people with disabilities. We've decided to engage a consultant to study on how to more effectively promote sports participation among people with responsibilities, and to how to enhance our support on athletes with disabilities. In relation to the WKCD, we have the WKCDA has completed the foundation work of the Sichu Center, and the superstructure contract has been granted in December. Foundation of M+ has already started in August last year. And in relation to the various facilities, the Arts Pavilion, Black Box, outdoor stage, etc., the design work has already started. We'll continue to support the WKCDA on the various ideas. Last year, a list of intangible heritage has been compiled. We will continue to. We have a special office set up for the intangible cultural heritage inventory list. We will do our work in this regard. We will select those heritage projects that has got a higher value to conduct further studies, and we will allot resources to do our work. In relation to district administration, in Shanzhou and Yuen Long, we have launched 2 pilot schemes between April and August last year. We will do our work in accordance with the concept of addressing district issues at the local level and capitalizing on local opportunities. And this is my presentation. I welcome questions and comments from members. There are 8 members who have indicated to speak. Let me read out their names: Wong Kwok Hing, Tan Ka Piu, Wu Chiu Wai, Ray Chen, Ma Fong Kwok, Ip Kwok Kim, Deputy Chairman, and myself. Four minutes. Mr. Wong Kwok Hing. Thank you. I have 2 questions to ask the Secretary. First of all, about street sleepers. Recently, there is a shocking news involving a police officer firing a shot. Street sleepers is a district problem. During very hot days or very cold days, the HAD will open shelters for street sleepers. But street sleepers themselves indeed is a problem. Say, for example, in Kings Road, North Point, under some bridges, street sleepers gathered. Do you have any long-term plans to tackle the roots of the problem or assist these street sleepers to solve their problems?
And do you have any statistics on the number of street sleepers? Do you work across different departments to resolve the street sleepers problem? That's my first question. Second question, the government has disbanded the urban council and the regional council that was done a number of years ago. does the government conduct a comprehensive review on the situation after the two municipal services councils were disbanded, and there was a promise that district administration should be strengthened? Is there any follow-up and improvement work that needs to be undertaken? Thank you, Mr. Wong, for your questions. Street sleepers problem, as you rightly pointed out, the problem stems from many causes, and we need a cross-departmental approach to address the problem. In Shamshepo, we have this district administration pilot scheme, and it is exactly dealing with the problem and achieving some progress. Mr. Wong noted that the HAD would make available certain shelters for street sleepers during very hot and cold days. Going by the experience of dealing with street sleepers in Shamshepo, the street sleepers might not want to go into these shelters. Well, the street sleepers' problems are caused by a number of factors: social issues and family problems, and so on. So this is what we are seeing in Shamshepo. There is a group of street sleepers indeed, and different districts have compiled statistics on street sleepers. I'm not sure whether the statistics are very comprehensive or not. SWD may also be doing something on this, and for Shamshepo in particular, we are helping the street sleepers to live in, to move to flats to live, and then because of this, some street sleepers in other districts have moved to Shamshepo, and Mr. Wong is concerned about flyover in North Point, and the street sleepers are occupying areas under the flyover, and they are causing a nuisance to the residents. The district officer in that district is looking at the problem together with different government departments. After the two municipal services council were disbanded, district councils, have they been given more power? That the current administration would like to strengthen the functions of the district councils. Next, Mr. Tan Ka-Piu. Thank you, Madam Chair. Two questions here. One is related to district administration. Every district council is given $100 million to carry out the signature project scheme. To my understanding, Kwai Ching has launched SPS, providing services for the other 18 districts. Progress has been slow. The current term of government may end very soon, and I believe that the current term administration will commit more resources to the district councils for them to undertake works in the districts. The progress has been very slow. Let me cite an example. Can we use the model for BFA facilities, and we ask for $1.8 billion from the Legislative Council at one go, and then would distribute the money to the 18 district councils. So there is no need for them for each district council to come and seek funding separately from the LegCo, especially given the current situation of the LegCo. The progress has been very slow. Now, district council may take 2 to 3 years to design the project, and then they have to wait for funding from the LegCo for another 2 to 3 years. So the progress is too slow. HAD, you should be having a good grasp of public sentiment of the young people, and sentiment of people in the various districts, and different people in Hong Kong have expressed the worry that Hong Kong's society is being torn apart, and how we can forge harmony in the society again. So what do you plan to do on that front? Secretary, your first question, I do appreciate your concern. In the last meeting, you raised the same concern and also some suggestions. The SPS project, the funding is around $100 million based on the established financial procedures. We do need approval from the FC for the projects. Now, FC is working in a way that we don't want to see now, and Mr. Tang's concerns are very valid indeed. So we are considering how to make things better. Now, Mr. Tang's suggestions involves changes in our system, and well, in the basic law, the $30 million threshold is not clearly written there. So I understand your concerns. The government should take a comprehensive look to see if we can further enhance or increase the financial authority of the district councils. I've heard your views and we will consider them. Your second question, the HAD has the mission of community building. Building the community and forging cohesiveness in the society. So we should work together with other government departments as well. Hong Kong is our home. Do you think you have not been doing a proper job in the past? It seems that you haven't been forging a harmonious society. So the situation we are seeing today stems from complicated factors, and actually the 18 district officers are doing a lot of work, and we will continue to work hard. Mr. Wu Chi-wai. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question about the private recreational leases, and many of the leases have been renewed, say for some 10 years, and there is a strong demand for lands generally in the community. And whether we are going to renew leases for private recreational grounds that involve planning and also relocation in some cases. For private recreational grounds whose leases have been renewed, do you have any plans that would cope with the shortage of land in Hong Kong? And a lot of people don't have any homes in Hong Kong. So that's the first point. Second, about the golfing course in Fanling. I know that you are planning to do a land use review on NT West. Have you notified the private recreation clubs or lands concerned that when the agreement expires in 2019, that it's not the case that they will certainly get their leases renewed? So do you have a responsibility to notify them that they would not get the renewal of the lease automatically? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wu, for your question about private recreational leases. We are now conducting an interdepartmental review. Why interdepartmental approach? the leases are actually the responsibility of the Lands Department, but for HAD, we look at it from the perspective of supporting the sports development in Hong Kong and providing our advice. The review is ongoing, pending the completion of the review, and actually in the year before the last and last year, we have added certain conditions in our renewal of the leases. Well, we're not just talking about the golfing course, but other sites as well. For private recreational grounds and clubs, we stated categorically that their leases would not be renewed automatically. That clause has already been added in. So we would look at it comprehensively and see whether we should still use the same approach in supporting sports development in Hong Kong. And we would also see whether land premium is also required. Madam Chair, can the Secretary tell us, is there a timetable, how long the review will take? Is there a roadmap? We expect that a proposal will be put forward within this year. Well, actually, this will be one of the outstanding items to be discussed in the future. Well, the land leases conditions have stated clearly that the government can't resume the land before the expiry time. So I think the Secretary must notify the owners of the clubs that they may not get their leases renewed automatically. Mr. Ray Chan. Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to ask about the progress of the youth hostel program. The program was announced in 2012. In early February 2013, announced the plans for Shangwan and Taipei, and it's already early 2015. You said that you have completed engineering study already. Is it within schedule? Has the progress been too slow? So exactly when the first batch of youths can move in. Now for Shangwan, 300 places are provided, and Mong Kok, Jordan, together with these two projects, a total of 1,000 places will be provided. So well, when the plan was announced, people had high aspirations. They're now maybe stepping into their 30s, and Mr. Lee Shao-kei donated this piece of land in Martin Park, and 1,600 places will be provided, and it will be commissioned in 2018. Well, this is only 2015, and they said the hostel in Yunnan will be completed in 2018. So they're moving really fast. What about you? You seem to be moving too slowly. Now, when the plan was announced in the first place way back, you sounded very grand. You said that you were helping the young people to get to have a place to live, and you are helping them in moving up their careers as well. So, I mean, how long do they have to wait? Now, as for the Martin Park hostel, will it be any different from the one in Shangwan? Thank you, Mr. Ray Chan, for your question. For this youth hostel program, it's unique in the sense that it's not the government is not using public resources to provide housing, to address housing problem. That is why the HAD has taken on the responsibility of taking forward the project.
If public fund is used to provide housing, of course, the THB will have to consider how to accord priority, whether priority should be given to those with families, single ones, elderly people, young people, or any other categories. Well, for the Shenwan one, the NGO is Tonghua Groups of Hospital. They have land, and there is a structure on top, but land is not fully utilized. And they would like to fully utilize the site by providing a youth hostel. The Xiangwan site was originally a school. For it to be turned into a youth hostel, then the procedures will have to be followed. Say, for example, going through the town planning procedures to deal with the height restriction. The site donated by Mr. Li Xiaoqi, the land's already formed. Before it was donated to Polancook, we are aware that ground investigation has been conducted to see if there is any cavern underneath. I don't think the secretary has answered my question. He was just talking about the ideas. I asked about the slow progress. By the looks of it, it has nothing to do with them. It was the organizations. So what about the Yunlong site? How is it different from, say, the Shangwan site? Maybe you will wait for your next round. Mr. Ma Fong Kwok. Thank you. In the policy address, the Chief Executive mentioned about the shortage of facilities, of sports and recreational facilities and venues. On sports, it's said that the Sports Commission has set up a working group to look into it. So I'd like to know about the composition of this working group, because you need participation of the stakeholders for the study to be properly done. So what's the composition of the working group? Do you have any plans to consult the sector, that is the sports sector? And in relation to art, the policy address in 2014 talked about using unused educational premises, and I know that there was only one. It was the Taipo government school. The premises has been left unused, and that was the only project. And there is also the school's sports ambassador program. It was announced in a policy address and launched in the year 2012 and 13. I think it's a very good idea. It can also create job opportunities. I would like to ask how many schools and athletes have participated. And the way forward, will there be this position, that is a sports development officer in secondaries and primary schools? In the Sports Commission, there are stakeholders, say for example SF&OC and NSAs. And this working group will include members of the Sports Commission and co-opted members. They will look into facilities, some provided by the LCSD, some not. This working group will be set up at the beginning of this year. In Taipo, a government school, the premises was disused starting from September last year. We plan to come to LegCo for funding application in the second half of this year for the project. We don't have another project in a pipeline, but we are looking into a site in Aberdeen. It's going to be sold. We would like to add a sizable area of for art development. We will actively look into other possibilities for expansion of art space. And in relation to the program, that is the school sports program coordinator pilot scheme. It started with 15 schools. It started in 2012. Retired athletes are assigned to schools to be coordinators. This will be a springboard for retired athletes from a career of an athlete to school coordinator. It's a very good program. A lot of schools ask us to include them. It's sustainable financially. We have reached a bottleneck. That is how many retired athletes would participate. We have identified 15, and we asked the SFNOC to identify more. The next phase will start at the end of 2015. Next, Mr. Kohim. Thank you. I have a number of questions to ask. First one is a follow-on of what Mr. Tenkapu said. The signature project. In the list of outstanding items, there are 12. The next one is Central Western District. It will start in March. And then the one afterward is Wan Chai. In November, there will be the new term of District Council. So given the progress, can the current term of the District Council complete their job? Can it be expedited? How can you make sure that district councils will be able to give an account to the constituents? And I would also like to talk about the intangible cultural heritage inventory list. The LCSD in the second half of this year will set up an office. Can you give us more details? The third question is in relation to our pilot scheme. And the Secretary said that it will be expanded to all 18 districts. Can you give us more information so that we can get a better picture of it? In relation to the second part of the question, that is the intangible cultural heritage, I will defer to the director for the LCSD. And in relation to the signature project of the 18 districts, yes, progress is slow. When the idea was first floated, the idea was clear. District councils will be empowered, and they will be given $100 million. District councils haven't failed us. They have reached a consensus very quickly, and all 18 districts have come up with projects that meet the aspiration of residents. But we now have reached a stage when we have to go through a lengthy process. There are constraints. We cannot change the system, the institution. But I've been talking to the chairmen as to how to expedite these projects, and I would love to hear from members about the projects. And the Shangshaipo and Yuen Long, there is an additional $5 million given to them, and there's no need to go through the FC. Well, we will review the pilot scheme, and then we will map our way forward. Next, Mr. Yu Si-wing. In relation to guest houses and bed and breakfast, you know that there is the guest house ordinance. This will stifle the development of the trade. I spoke with Hung Yi-kuk. They have this idea. They would like to use vacant village houses and turn them into guest houses. And I've been to Taiwan, and there are more and more mainland visitors. There are more and more mainlanders coming to Hong Kong. Some of them just camp in our campsite. So there is room for development for this lodging places. Well, this is not simple matter because you will have to put in place all the supporting facilities, utilities, etc. So would you conduct a detailed study in this regard? And about the intangible cultural heritage. In Hong Kong, there are 4 national intangible cultural heritage. There is the Fire Dragon and also the Ghost Festival. There's also the Dragon Boat in Ho Chung. The administration said that they will set up an office, dedicated office for the intangible cultural heritage. Will they further promote Hong Kong's intangible cultural heritage so that our tourism can be boosted? Thank you for the question. And in the financial year 2015-16, the LCSD will set up a dedicated unit, an office for ICH, Intangible Cultural Heritage, in relation to the filing and promotion of ICH. We will take up a promotion work, and in relation to national ICH, we will liaise with the relevant bodies to take this to a different level. There will be a curator responsible for it. We have announced 480 ICH in the inventory list. We will select those with a higher heritage value, and there's an urgent need to preserve them. We will compile a representative list. We will cooperate with the relevant bodies that are responsible for heritage conservation, to do our work properly. What about lodging places? There is a liaison mechanism with Hung Yi-kuk. We will identify possible measures to take this forward. It's difficult to actually make it successful after the idea has been announced. We have to first identify sites. Ms. Han Chang. Thank you. Commission on Youth. Members are appointed by the Secretary, and a lot of youngsters said that the average age of the members are over 50, and they would like to see more youngsters being appointed. Would you consider that?
That's my first question. Secondly, about youth hostels. And a lot of young people are very concerned about youth hostels, and they in fact welcome such plans. There are 4 projects planned. The 2 in Shanghai and Taipei respectively may be completed earlier. What about Mongkok and Jordan? What's your expected time of their commissioning? Can you also give us more information as to whether only the singletons are allowed or young couples are also allowed? Who do you consider to be young people in terms of age? What is the size of each flat? And also the comparison of the rental at youth hostel vis-a-vis market renters. Will the rental be higher than that of subdivided units? I'll defer to the PS to talk about the youth hostel. Members of the Commission on Youth, over half of them are young people below 35 years old. Well, I consider people of 35 years old or below young people, and they are appointed by the CE. Youth hostels. Dr. Zhang raised several questions. Who are eligible? Those who are 18 to 30 years old, singletons can apply, and also young couples can also apply. The rental will be 60% of the market rental, and there are also certain asset limits and income limits. The limit is 75% of the median income, and for the 2-person households is the double the median income is the limit. Taipei will be commissioned in 2017 for Shanghai hostel. It will be at Hollywood Road, and we do have to conduct certain heritage assessment, and we have to go through the town planning board. We hope to open it in 2017-18. For the 2 in Mongkok and Jordan, we are now conducting feasibility study. The Secretary also mentioned about the one in Yunlong, land donated by Mr. Liu Xiaokei, and he's working with Poland Cook. Much preparatory works have been completed, so we hope that can be commissioned at the same time when the latter group of hostels is completed. You said that the young members of the Commission on Youth are appointed by the CE. Can you then relay my view to the Chief Executive? Yes, we will do that. The next one, Mr. Tony Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. Secretary mentioned the first thing about youth development in his opening remarks. We are very concerned about it, and the policy address set out the Youth Development Fund, $300 million. And young people, a lot of them are engaged in the creative industries. In 2014, the government has identified a building in Wangchukang and offered them to artists at a concessionary rate. And you are now also planning to use vacant school premises in Taipei to provide art space. Now, to start up a business is very difficult. So if you have a startup business fund, then that will be good. And startup business also face the problem of high rental. Young people are worried that they can't afford the rent when they start a business. So can the Secretary consider finding space and offering it at a low rental to the young artists, well, especially during the incubation period of the startup business? Can you lend them a helping hand? Second, the government has implemented the mandatory window inspection scheme and mandatory building inspection scheme, WIS and MBIS, and many property owners are facing a lot of difficulties under those schemes, but nothing seems to be mentioned in the policy address. And we are very worried about tender wrecking and so on. So, Secretary, would you take the lead in drawing up measures to help the small owners and protect them against organized tender wrecking by conglomerates? About tender wrecking, perhaps I'll defer to Mr. Chan to take that question. Mr. Chair, first question about start-up business. The greatest difficulty, as I understand it, is rental, exorbitant rental. Well, the Youth Development Fund is not dedicated especially to deal with the rental problem, but for Mr. Grexo's, his bureau, in the science park, there is this kind of incubation facility. There is space provided, and then there are also measures to help young people to start up their business. They can rent some space at low rental for 2 years. And that is a measure to help young people to start up their own business. Building management, tender rigging. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Chair, for your question. In tackling the problem of tender rigging and also other building management problems, we adopt a three-pronged approach. First, we have to make sure that the legislation works, and recently we are conducting extensive public consultation on the building management ordinance. We'll come up with proposals soon. And also monitoring of building management companies. We'll have a licensing system. And thirdly, we would provide many services for the small owners, consultancy and advisory services. And we'll be launching 2 new services, and one is free legal advice and the other mediation services. So we hope that through all these measures, small owners will be able to tackle the problems they face. Now, if there are criminal acts involved, we will not condone them, and we would refer them to the law enforcement agencies to follow up duly. Dr. Kenneth Chen. Thank you, Madam Chair. I have several points to make, and I hope that you can follow up on them. Ms. Li Wei-si has again been awarded a gold medal in a Thailand cycling race, and we are trying to also help the retired athletes. When they retire, they may feel nervous, so we are providing them with a recognition scheme with a one-off awards given to them that is dished out by the Hong Kong Sports Institute. And I hope that the Secretary will implement the scheme with care, and the administration said that a pilot scheme is implemented in 15 schools, that the retired athletes can help with these schools in promoting sports. I hope that you would not stop there. You would think more about how to help the retired athletes and help them in planning for their life ahead, and how they can plan for their career in the future. We should not just give out a one-off sum of money to them. You should actually map out policies to help them in their future career. This is very, very important. If we want to encourage young people to become elite athletes and you want them to contribute to Hong Kong, we should have better planning for them so that they and their family members' minds can be put at ease. If we don't do that, then all our efforts will not be of good use. Well, I've talked to a number of people in the past few years, and the athletes, the elite athletes, are very worried on what happens after the few years of athletes' life. So not just an award to them. Think of other policies. Also, the Commission on Youth, some colleagues have mentioned, and I know the chairman is now very engaged in the Hong Kong work of the Hong Kong Army Cadets Association, and he may not be putting a lot of time on the Commission on Youth. So I think we should let the young people participate more in the Commission on Youth so that they can have more freedom in developing themselves. The third issue is on ethnic minorities. We are very concerned about the sports development of the ethnic minorities. For the ethnic minorities are part of the population in Hong Kong, and for example, cricket, can we do more for them? Can we provide more sports venues for the ethnic minorities so that they can engage in sports as well in Hong Kong? I think this is also very important. Lastly, I want to talk about arts development. I have tried to understand more about the Hong Kong Chinese Orchestra, the governance. There have been disputes recently, and I thank the administration for responding quickly to my earlier letter. And I've been following up on the matter for quite some time. I know the Secretary would like to stay neutral in the matter, but try to arrange some time to meet with them and listen to their concerns. Thank you. I've heard Dr. Chan's concerns. You've gone over your 4 minutes. Perhaps the answer can come later. Well, next is my turn. I would like to follow up on the second question asked by Mr. Chan Ka-piu. One of your priorities is youth development, youth work. You said that you would provide more internship and exchange opportunities. You would also be leading young people to do work with the United Nations, voluntary work, and also Youth Development Fund, or that is also welcomed. But for quite some time, I've observed that young people do have their own concepts of young policy. Sometimes they may not be very familiar with how the government maps out its policies, public policy. Sometimes they would hold opposing views. When you draw up future policies, would you consider the latest trends in the young people's thinking? And also young people browse the websites a lot. So have you considered using the online platform to publicize your messages so that you can reach more young people? And second issue, district management pilot scheme. The policy address hasn't mentioned that the pilot scheme will be expanded to other districts. I'm disappointed by that because each district has its own unique problems which should be reserved at the district council level. And in terms of resources, if each district has extra resources to deal with its local problems, then that would be good. In Yuen Long, there are problems with street management, and Kowloon City, we had a district council meeting lasting till 9 p.m. yesterday. We were also discussing street management. So in the budget, will the financial secretary be allotting more resources to district councils to deal with district problems so that such problems can be tackled as a priority? Thank you, Madam Chair. With regard to your second question, your second comment, I've heard that clearly. The new district council elections will be held towards the end of this year. And there will be difficulties of expanding the pilot scheme to all the districts as a result. Our plan is that we would be conducting a review for the 2 districts in the middle of this year.
But we will not stop our work. Where there are urgent issues to be tackled, we will make use of our existing resources. Say, for example, problems in Kowloon City. I know that Kowloon City is now another shopping spots where there are a lot of coaches. We will liaise with district councillors and the district council to resolve urgent issues. And in relation to discussions and exchange with the youth, yes, we have to step it up. There is a dialogue mechanism with youth from the Commission on Youth and the HAD. And there is a youth summit coming up. Senior officials of the government will talk to our youngsters in this summit. Some members would like to ask follow-up questions. Tan Ka Pil, Wu Chi Wai, Chuan Chi Chun, Yu Si Wing, Ann Cheng, and myself. 3 minutes, please. Mr. Tan Ka Pil. I would like to ask about the district administration, whether it is the pilot scheme or the signature project. Secretary, how will you take stock of these 2 projects? In what form will it be? I'm not saying that the department or the bureau has done anything wrong, but what we see is slow progress. District councils have already come up with a design and a proposal. We're wasting time. LegCo members from observation would normally respect the wishes of district councillors. So how would you take stock of what happened, learn the experience, and put forward improvements, proposals? We have to follow the established procedure. We have to go through the LegCo. What we are doing is to find ways to expedite the process. If the projects have to come to LegCo one by one, it will take a long time, I'm afraid. What we're looking at is to how to expedite the implementation of the projects to meet the aspirations of the DC and the public. We will learn from the experience and we will map our way forward in relation to, say, delineation of powers. How can you ensure that the $100 million will be used and the projects will be implemented on schedule? And when do you think all these projects will eventually be completed? I hope this is before the end of this LegCo term. So July 2016? Next, Mr. Wu Chi Wai. He's not here. Mr. Ray Chan, thank you. I want to follow up on the youth hostels. Just now, these PS said that typo will be completed in 2017, Xiangwan hopefully before 2018. What about Mongkok and Jordan? Is the progress as expected by the HAB? Do you think it's a bit slow? And if it is, whose responsibility is it? If it's not yours, is it the organization responsible? And the project in Martin Park, by the sound of it, it will be completed before all the other projects, although it starts late. So is the role played by the administration different from, say, the project in Sheungwan? Perhaps I did not make myself clear. For the Sheungwan project, it was 2017-18. Hopefully, we'll be able to push it for it to be completed in 2017. For the Martin Park site, our role is the same as the previous 4 projects. If all requirements are met, we will make funding application from LegCo for the project cost, but the operating cost is borne by the NGO, Poland Cook. As the Secretary explained, the NGO is responsible for planning and taking forward the preliminary work. Our role is to liaise between them and the government departments. Some work has to be done by the NGO, and they may not be familiar with large-scale projects, so it's a bit slower than usual. Through coordination and land use rezoning, we hope that we will be able to help so that we can catch up the lost time. What about Mongkok and Jordan? A consultant will be engaged to conduct the feasibility study and other studies. We hope that we will be able to do it within this year. The responsible organizations are Youth Development Association and the Girl Guides Association. This is the UC wing. I would like to follow up on the ICH, Intangible Cultural Heritage. I welcome the setting up of the office. Taiwo Ho Chung and the Ghost Festival will be the 2 key items. Have you any plans about conducting any studies and a timetable? In relation to youth, I see that in the CE's policy address, importance has been attached to youth development. And there is mention about exchange with the mainland. Ma Yun sets aside a large sum of money to make more rooms for youth development. Well, but in Hong Kong there is limited land, and for enterprise expansion there are constraints, and some of them have gone overseas, some to the mainland. The mainland market is a huge one. So can there be cooperation with mainland enterprises? So can the administration talk to universities? If university graduates can't find jobs, can they maybe participate in internship in mainland or overseas enterprises? Under an internship program? In relation to the ICH, I would refer to the PS. And about internship on the mainland, such programs are very popular. For a number of years, we have given support, we have made arrangements. Dalian, Shanghai, Beijing, Chengdu, Chongqing, Guangdong offered internship. And they are very much sought after. we are working on increasing the number of internships in enterprises on the mainland. We put in more resources this year to increase the number of internships. University students are very enthusiastic in signing up for this. In relation to the 4 national ICH, including Tai O, Ho Chung, and the Ghost Festival, we've been giving support, policy support. Say, for example, funding, helping with them with the funding application. And this year, we've stepped up cooperation with the relevant bodies, and we work with the Tourism Commission to step up publicity and promotion in the community. Ms. An Chang, thank you. I would like to ask about the Youth Development Fund. And this is a very good idea. I see that it will be by way of a matching fund basis. The government will take out $300 million. So when it comes to a matching fund, say, if you come up with 100,000, then the organization will come up with another 100,000. So $200,000 is sufficient to help with startups. It can help, say, 3,000 youngsters to start their own businesses. Before you work out the details, please don't just talk to the Commission on Youth, because I don't know how many members have experience in business startups. We've been a businessman for a very long time, so we know full well where the difficulties lie. And I'd like to tell you that there is a very important factor, the experience. Will there be some mentors to help these youngsters? Another important factor is rental. The young person may have $200,000, but before anything is done, he will have to pay rent with that $200,000. And what about policies? You see, in overseas countries there are some mobile stores in the form of a vehicle to sell household items, clothes, etc. It may well worth the resources to send your staff to pay a visit to, say, for example, the US, to learn from the experience. They need your policy support. I thank Ms. Chang for her views. We would like to use matching fund basis. We did not just think about monetary terms. We would like to get support from the business sector and involvement of the business sector. Some of the business may be seen viable, but what about policy support? If you talk about vehicles serving as mobile stores, catering business, well, if you send someone to the US to conduct a duty visit, I will go along at my own expenses. Mr. Chang, would you like to get a reply? Or would you like to go over the points you have gone through? I would like to get an answer. Perhaps you will go over the 4 areas. First, retire elite athletes. The one-off award. And you should do more to help with these athletes with their career planning and life planning. You need to work out the way forward. And in relation to ICH, I know that the administration will set up a dedicated office to take forward this work. Apart from a Chinese ICH and the promotion of it, there are also ethnic minorities here, say for example cricket. We should give them more attention, promote it, and maybe give them a venue as well.
Third, the Commissioner on Youth, I think we need more younger people. The chairman should concentrate his efforts in working on Hong Kong Army Cadets Association. Fourth, it's about the Hong Kong Chinese Orchestra. On behalf of some veteran players in the orchestra, I urge the Secretary to listen to their views. I understand that the Secretary tries to adopt a neutral stance on the matter. On the second to fourth issues, they are really comments. I've heard them. And about point one, the arrangement for the retired elite athletes, this one-up award is a new initiative. And what we've been doing is that after the elites have retired, assistance will be given them to help them pursue new careers, further studies, and so on. And the Hong Kong Sports Institute and also the SFNOC have dedicated arrangements and plans to help these elite athletes. We used to provide counseling assistance, but what's new this time is that apart from providing the information, we are giving a one-off grant to them so that these elites can take up some other new initiatives. It's my turn now. I have 3 questions and comments. Communication with young people. I think the government has not been doing enough in the past. The Young People Summit is, of course, one thing that can work, but do you have any other measures? I know that, well, in terms of IT, you might need assistance from other bureaus. So if we don't face up to the issue now, then, I mean, we're running into problems. You have to deal with it. District management. I thank the Secretary for promising to help the Kowloon City, DC. But the other districts also need your assistance. So can you strive for additional resources in the coming budget to help district councils to deal with district problems? Third, about tender rigging. I noticed that the PES said, well, that in fact in the last open hearing, I also said the same. From my observation in the Operation Building Bright of the URA, they have accumulated a certain experience. They've done well in terms of engaging independent consultants to work together with the owners' corporations to make price comparisons of the bidders. And also independent accountants are engaged in handling and dealing with tenders. By doing that, we'll be able to identify tenders which come with too high a level. Then that will help the owners. And in some other cases, some tenders prices are exceptionally low. So I think as the Operation Building Bright program is going to end, then I'm afraid that tender rigging will continue. So perhaps the government can consider regularizing certain advisory programs and owners corporations can also now apply for funding on individual projects, and that is already a form of subsidy. Madam Chair, we've considered the programs that you mentioned. The HAD has tried to understand from the URA how we can launch similar programs. So this is the work that we are doing. Communication with young people, we will do that as much as we can. Young people have their own special characteristics. We are talking to young people all the time. Our experience is that we usually hold meetings from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and the timing makes it difficult for the young people to join us in our meetings. As regards online platforms, social media, making use of these to communicate with young people, well, it might not be the best approach for the government to launch its own social media platform. Now, as regards whether we can ask for more resources in the budget for the 18 DCs, very soon, in fact, 10 days later, the FS will be announcing the budget, and before that, it's inappropriate for me to make any comments. The third round or second round, Mr. Tony Chair. Is there any other member wishing to speak? Dr. Hon Chiang wishes to speak for a third time, so I'll draw a line there. Second round, Mr. Tony Chair, 3 minutes. Thank you, Madam Chair. On the Youth Development Fund, that was raised as the first thing in the Secretary's opening remarks, so that shows its importance. And the Secretary said that Mr. LegCo, under his portfolio, the Science Park is doing something in terms of offering help to young people in renting spaces. So, Secretary, can your bureau take everything up? Young people may not be well versed on how things are being done, and if they have to make inquiries with one bureau after another, then it will be difficult for them. So can your bureau take up everything, and instead of asking the young people to go after one bureau after another, can you help them in that way? And young people may have a dream in starting up their business, and if they are frustrated from the very start because they have to go to different bureaus, then it will not be good. So please, can you do more in taking up all the responsibilities in your bureau? Thank you, Mr. Chair, for your question. Yes, we need to provide one-stop inquiry service to young people. The space we provide may not be adequate. There are some space provided at the Science Park, and also under the HAB, arts space is also being provided to young people. In our work with social enterprises, we bump into the same problems. When social enterprises are first started up, the owners may have to seek assistance from a number of different departments. For example, if they have to apply for licenses, get certain documents, they have to go to different departments, and that may be a waste of time and resources for them. So Mr. Tony Chair is right in pointing out that we should have a centralized place for providing service and information. Dr. Hon Chiang, 3 minutes, third round. I also want to follow up on the Youth Development Fund. Secretary, please consider this. To help young people start up their business and to ensure that the $300 million are well spent, I suggest that you may perhaps start a monitoring body or committee comprising all businessmen, and they can help do the matching and monitoring the use of the funds. Business people, it's time for them to give back to the society. I mean, they have wide networks, they are very business-minded, good business acumen. So if they can help the young people as a mentor, then the young people's chances of success in starting the business will be greatly enhanced. And perhaps you can even organize a competition among the young the startup business, because the young businessmen would not like to lose in a competition, so they would do their best to help these young people. So please consider this. I also raised a question about shop rental. Secretary, please consider drawing up policies to help them in that aspect. For example, there are some temporary, land plots, government land plots, and also mobile shops can also be considered. A pilot scheme can be launched, say in the new territories where shopping is not that convenient. So you can sort of roll out a pilot scheme there. And some people do own shops, and they don't mind letting out a small part of their shops for young people to start their own business. And if shop owners do that, can the government give concessions in terms of rents and rates to these shop owners? If the government is keen on helping these young people, you should at the same time launch a spate of support policies. Secretary, I would be fully supportive of the Youth Development Fund, and you could stand good chance of success if you really work hard. Well, thank you, Dr. Hon CHIANG, for your positive feedback on the YDF. We attach a lot of importance on building an advisory network for the young people. So different NGOs, including the trade associations, would be drawn in to help, and they would help screen the different proposals, and they would also provide a network for advising the young people. And we would also be like to promote the collaboration of the business people in that network, and also some shop owners well, actually, there are some 20 co-working space provided to young people. The Secretary also mentioned about social enterprises. And we are also giving support in terms of rental for social enterprises. So with all these measures, we are helping, trying to help young people. Mr. Ma Fong Kwok, I'd like to ask that in this year's policy address, the CE sort of subtly indicated that he would give up the notion of establishing a culture bureau. I appreciate that, but I'm a bit disappointed, because for quite some time the cultural policies have been scattered among different policy bureaus. The nation, starting from a few years ago, has renewed its cultural policies, and it will be boosting the cultural sector in the mainland. And the last review in Hong Kong was conducted in 2000, and it's been 15 years down the road. We will not be setting up a cultural bureau, I understand, but then we need to update our cultural policies. So does the government plan to review our cultural policies in the future and update them to meet with the latest developments.
Secretary, when it comes to the promotion of culture and how it should be part of the government structure, there are different views. Mr. Ma mentions about the mainland. On different levels, the central government and municipal government, there are different portfolios. Say, for some, cultural comes with tourism, and for others, culture comes with broadcasting. The Ministry of Culture under the State Council will not oversee broadcasting, but for some other ministries and commissions, it may not be lumped up with broadcasting, may be lumped with some other portfolio. When it comes to culture of different scopes, what Ms. Chang mentioned was related to maybe economic development. Mr. Yu mentioned tourism, and there are cultural elements in it. We'll continue to listen to views and move ahead with the times. Ms. Chang, you would like to follow up? 2 minutes. Yes, I would like to follow up on something the Secretary said. I made a suggestion. Secretary, would you undertake to consider it? Well, it actually is the Undersecretary. When it comes to these mobile kiosks, yes, we know that we are quite popular overseas, but they have more space, say for example, car parks. But here we have fixed stores, smaller scale booths that serves as retail outlets. Maybe I will talk to you more about it and maybe learn more from you in this regard. What about asking shops to carve out a small space for youngsters to start their businesses? Under the cross-sectoral initiatives, there are different measures. When I talk to you, I will give you more information. In the urban area, there are some smaller government sites that are not really suitable for development. Would you grant them, say for example, a short-term tenancy to let them use it? Well, for these small sites, they may not be well connected, and this will not be conducive to starting businesses. No, that is not the case. They are very accessible. There are a lot in Kowloon West. I will tell you about them. Well, about the Mong Kok Youth Hostel, you were asked when it will be completed. Do you at least have an idea? P.S. For the Jordan one and the Mong Kok one, they are taken up by NGOs, and hopefully within this year, the preliminary consultant study will be conducted. Because of the complexity, we are unable to give you a timetable. As soon as we have it, we will revert to you. And we have spent quite a lot of time on the discussion of this item. Let's move on to the next item. Review of the honorarium arrangement for DC members. Let's invite the administration representative to join us. We have the Secretary, and there is a paper. Secretary, when you're ready. Let me quickly go through it. In a policy address, it is mentioned that starting from January next year, starting from the commencement of the next DC term, there will be an increase of honorarium in real terms. Because of the increasing workload of DCs and the complexity of these issues, we propose that starting from the new DC term, that is the 1st of January 2016, to increase the honorarium for members by 15%, that is from 25,760 to 29,620, and to introduce a provision at a ceiling of 10,000 per member per term to finance duty visits. The purpose of increasing the honorarium is to give sufficient financial support for members to perform their duties, and to increase the incentive for aspiring people to serve the community by becoming DC members. We hope that we will get members' support. After consulting this panel, we plan to, in the first quarter of this year, apply for funding approval from the FC. We hope we have the chance, so that before the next DC election we will have time to announce the honorarium and other arrangements of the next DC term, so that those who are interested in running for an election will know about it. This is in line with past practices. Starting from January 2014, we have already increased the accountable operating expenses reimbursement by 34% to meet with the increase ward office operation and wage increase. Mr. Ko Kim, you would like to ask questions? 4 minutes. Thank you. Well, I have to declare I am a district councillor of the Central Western District. I'm also a member from the FC, functional constituency of District Council. Under this proposal, there are 2 items: an increase of the honorarium and the introduction of a new provision. This is to enhance the support to DC members to assist their performance of duty. I'm in contact with DC members, and I visit district councils to listen to their views, that there is a strong demand in this regard, and I support it. And I would like to remind the Secretary of some issues. The new term of DC will start. At the end of this year, there is going to be an election. A lot of members face the difficulty of the setting up expenses reimbursement, which stands at $100,000 currently, and when they're elected, then there will be problems, because if you move your office, then you will get this reimbursement, but if you don't, then you won't get it. But what about the overheads? You will have to, say, get a new photocopier, fax machine. Half of the reimbursement would have been gone. Why can't we separate the procurement of office equipment from the amount? There are a lot of expenditures incurred by a district councillor. What about offering additional rental subsidy for ward offices that are not on government property? Director. First, the setting up expenses. We have carefully considered it. Last year, there was a new measure. If a member is re-elected, if the ward office is changed, they are entitled the $100,000 of reimbursement, and if they remain in the same location, is still $50,000. But there is a flexible way to make arrangements. Say, for example, pricey items like photocopiers. We suggest to members not to procure one because it will cost you tens of thousands of dollars. They can rent one, which is deductible from the operating expenses. We would like to keep the flexibility of the operating expenses reimbursement, OER. That's why we don't want dedicated items for specific expenses. If you have some money left, you can get another assistant. Keeping the flexibility is very important. I need to declare I am a re-elected district councillor. Next, Mr. Teng Kap-yew. I am an incumbent district councillor. Mr. Teng Kap-yew, I'm also an incumbent district councillor. Yeah, we only have $50,000. If you buy a $40,000 photocopier, then most of it is gone. If the operating expenses is increased, reimbursement OER is increased, we can get assistance with a higher caliber to deal with complaints we have received. Different districts have different problems. It's very difficult to find someone with a higher education qualification to be an assistant. Not the counselor, but the assistant. We welcome the increased OER because it helped us to recruit assistants with higher qualifications. I'm not going to comment on the honorarium. I see that some district councillors ask for special arrangements for Lantau Island constituency, TO1. The size is actually bigger than Hong Kong Island. The councillor operates a ward office in Tai O, another one in a different area, and he will have to drive to Central to attend the district council meeting. So we're talking about huge expenses. Do you give them special assistance? Say, for example, a special item for transportation. Members will have gratuity. What about setting the gratuity for assistance, which can be offset from the long service payment or severance payment? What about setting aside a pool that a member can use flexibly? Say, for example, when an assistant leaves, then a gratuity can be given, or before the assistant leaves, a gratuity can be given to the assistant so as to give them an incentive to stay. There are 412 constituencies, and they vary in sizes and population. For some, it may be densely populated with lots of issues. As I said, we would like to keep the flexibility in the OER. Different councillors can make use of the OER flexibly.
Well, the island district may span a relatively vast area, but then the rental may be lower relatively. So the lower rental can enable it to spend more on traveling. Now, as for end of term gratuity, the gratuity can be used as a severance pay for employees, so that can be arranged. So this is the kind of flexibility that I talked about. Next one, Mr. Ma from Kwok. Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to follow up on the issue of rental of DC members. You said you would like to give them flexibility. The rentals are exorbitant these days in many districts, and some district councillors are serving the middle class voters. And if they want to serve these middle-class group, they have no choice but to rent an office in a shopping center or a commercial building. I know many such DC members, and now the accountable OER is very meager to them. They don't have any type of flexibility. They are running out of money. I think you must do something to help these DC members to serve the middle-class groups, or else they will not be able to provide a good service. I've been raising this problem for a number of years. I am not a DC member myself, but I do see that they face such difficulties. If they don't get enough support, they would not be able to operate any ward offices. And for the proposals set out in the paper, I support all of them, including the rise in the honorarium and the new duty visit expense provision. So I would like to ask you to provide extra support for the DC members that I talked about. Thank you. Mr. Ma, for your question. The question of rental. In our review in 2014, we have increased the rate of the OER by 34%, and that was basically made in view of the rising rental. And our statistics showed that if we increase the OER by 34% to $38,000 per month, then that means 80% of the DC members would be able to pay the rental out of that. Still 20% are unable to pay the rentals, and some DC members may be digging into their own pockets to rent space which comes with high rental. We have also considered other approaches in helping DC members to find ward offices, say in government buildings and also public housing estates. And in some special cases, some ward offices in the Eastern District and also Yuen Long are housed in containers, and the HAD together with other government members have made that possible, and the outcome is satisfactory. Well, you are saying still 20% are unable to afford the rent is not a small number. I think you still have to consider this further. And rent is about to rise even further. The review that you did last year might have already become outdated today. Director, would you be please continue monitoring the rental trends? Dr. Kenneth Chan. With regard to DC members' ward offices, I think it's a problem which has persisted for many years. Now you have even used containers to house ward offices. I think you should try to take forward the matter together with the Development Bureau. We are having problems with rentals, and we should not just depend solely on the private market to provide space. This has everything to do with livelihood issue. These are important public services which should try to make things easy for DC members. For some DC members, they operate in areas with private commercial buildings, and they suffer most. So, I mean, it's a problem not just confined to the DC members, but also LegCo members. So I think the government should focus its attention on how helping the DC members to identify locations for setting up what offices. So we should try to help the DC members and the LegCo members. Madam Chair, I'm concerned about $10,000 per annum per member for duty visits. Well, it's neither a big sum nor a small sum. And I think the procedure will be like this. Is it right? The DC Council, the DC meeting will discuss where to visit, and then DC members are free to join the visits, and then they can claim from this $10,000 amount. I think the arrangement will be similar to that for LegCo members. And if we're talking about duty visits, there may be receiving parties at the places for the visit, and I would like to remind you that there may be some administrative issues that we have to look at. Some members, DC members, may not join certain duty visits, saying that he is already familiar with this certain place that is going to be visited. So can we allow some flexibility, allowing the individual DC member to take on a visit on his own and not joining the group duty visits? For example, a DC member may like to visit London to take a look at the cycling tracks on his own. So can the individual DC member claim from that $10,000 provision if we do that, as long as he gives good justifications and he duly reports on his duties when he returns to Hong Kong? Can that be considered? Two questions about the ward office. We've heard your views, Dr. Chen. We've been asking other government departments to help out. For example, the housing department is asked to give priority to let out space to DC member in that particular constituency. Now, as for duty visits, we should use public money prudently. There are several principles that we rely upon, that the visit should be related to the duty of the DC member, and also the visit proposal must be formally endorsed by the DC. And also for the relevant arrangements, booking the passage accommodation, that will be arranged by the DC Secretariat to ensure that it is duly and properly done. Now, Dr. Chen mentioned about this individual DC member wanting to visit a particular place. Well, that can be allowed as long as he can prove that that visit is related to his duty. Mr. Christopher Chung. With regard to what office, the Urban Council would allow for some space in the public market on a certain evening for DC members to meet with residents. Well, I must declare that I'm an Eastern DC member. The Eastern District Office has 3 officers. Can you allow for DC members who don't have an office, or his office is too small, to meet the residents in a space in your office? Can that be done? We would like to meet with residents to hear their views. There is a need for that. Second, and on claims, can we model after the LegCo approach? We've purchased models of computers which have become outdated for 10 years, Well, in the computer world, 3 years is a generation, and so can we write off such computers? And there is also this list, which we are asked to fill out on a monthly basis. And items that are not listed on the list are needed by our office. For example, detergents, tissue papers, and so on. And we said that we want to make claims for them. But then in the revenue department, so that they said that because the items are not on the list, then you can't make claims. If, say, electricity goes out, we have to light candles, we have to buy candles. Can all these, the candles be, the expenses on them be claimed? And for LegCo members, consumables are items under $1,000. Can we take the same, can we follow the LegCo in that? I think your suggestion about the public market is very good. I'm not talking about public market, but the HAD offices. We also suggest that DC members can use our resources like the community halls or community centers. Apart from the main hall, they do have small meeting rooms which can be used for DC members to meet with residents and hold meetings. Our works section would also try to make sure that our community halls can be used in a flexible way. Now, as for items, consumables, and computers in particular, technology advances rapidly, and we have to get sometimes computers replaced in 3 to 5 years. We'll go back and consider whether computers can be replaced in a shorter period. Now, as for consumables and other items, we suggest that some items can be donated by DC members to the disadvantaged groups. Now, with regard to the daily necessities like tissue papers, we do have an item called miscellaneous items, $5,000 each month. You don't have to make claims on those. You can just use them freely. So that is to help DC members to buy such items conveniently. Yes, IRD say that that the items, the expenses on items are tax deductible, but then they have to be on the list first. Please talk to the IRD on that. And also for full-time DC members, we don't have any other work jobs, and our MPF is not tax deductible. This is so very strange. Can you talk to the IRD on this? Yes, can you follow up, please? Thank you. Now it's my turn. I declare that I'm an incumbent DC member. I support these proposals. In fact, the DC members are getting more professional in their work, and some of them are working the job on a full-time basis. So if we have a better remuneration, that will help people from different backgrounds to become DC members. And actually, DC members are very busy. They deal with all sorts of things. And DC members actually come to talk and reflect residents' views to LegCo members. And residents are looking up to DC members for to help them out on all sorts of things like filling out a form or what. So I would like to cite an example on reimbursable, accountable OER claim. This happens to myself. This is very strange. You increased the accountable OER and also the accountable SER amount. I've moved the office, the ward office, but that was done before you made the adjustment. But then you said that because of this, you could not make a claim. Well, very often the DC member would move office once he got elected or re-elected. Well, that will be done immediately after the re-election. But then the last time when you made the adjustment, that was effective after the adjustment was made. Is that reasonable? I did the relocation before the adjustment. so I didn't get the allowance. Now, the director talked about flexibility. As to my understanding, for the claims made by LegCo members, so if, say, computer expenses have been used up, when a LegCo member wants to make new purchases of computers, he can claim it under other items. So.
I don't mind paying out of pocket, but the thing is, am I supposed to buy everything? The audio system and all the office equipment. Can you maybe further increase the flexibility? There is room to increase the flexibility. We will look into it. But I used an example, say for example, say the photocopier. It will take up the lion's share of your expenses. If you rent it instead of buying it, then you will save a lot. And renting computer equipment nowadays is quite commonplace. Please, you may consider it. Yes, I agree that there is flexibility, but what about loudspeakers, projectors, cameras? If you don't allow reasonable flexibility, then I think it will be too rigid. we welcome regularly reviewing the reimbursements and honoraria. Second round, Mr. Dr Hon. Well, in relation to rent subsidy for councillors operating a ward office not in public housing estates, well, there are actually quite a number of them, over 80. If that can't be done, would you make available government offices, say public markets, community halls, for councillors to use? If it cannot be offered for free, at least you can charge a rent. You can't really serve the public by giving people a phone number. $100,000 set-up fee is very little. At the end of the term, 4 years, can you still use the computer? Can you still use the air conditioner? I agree, yes. You can lease the photocopier, but there is wear and tear over the period of 4 years. Depreciation may drive the value of the machine to zero. For LegCo, they will say that you just continue to use it. There is no need for us to take it back because LegCo has the resources. For district councillors, why can't them be given a clean start? You may at least lead to repaint the premises. If you give them more support, they will be able to better serve the public. Please consider it. The 50% is unreasonable. I understand why. I've asked a number of times. It's because that's the practice of LegCo. But you can't compare the resources of the LegCo and the resources of a district council. I hope you can give me an answer today. At least I have to make it clear. Will you consider it? Anything to add? No? Next. Mr. Ma Fong Kwok. Thank you. I just want to give a comment. Well, the director kept saying 10%, and that is not accurate. If you take away those operating offices at PRH estates, and for those that run an office in the private premises, 20% can easily be just 10. Half of the councillors running an office in a private property encounter the same problems. Mr. Christopher Chung, you can't donate it because you don't find it useful. What's the use of donating it to someone else? I hope that for, say, computer equipment, it can be written off after 4 years. And sometimes we're told that you will have to try to repair it. And if it is beyond repair, then you can get another one. But we can't really do it, because if we take it to Golden Shopping Arcade, we waste traveling. We waste a train fare to take it there, and they, well, usually that is we will be told that it cannot be repaired. And if we give it back to you, then you will have to find a place to store it. Well, rental in private premises increase significantly. You really have to pay attention to that. And Missy mentioned about the setting up reimbursement. $50,000 is not enough, because you need to buy audio system, camera, etc. It will definitely cost over $50,000. If you cannot increase the amount, at least give more flexibility. You can't lease everything. If there are no other questions or no other comments, we will end this item. Sorry, the next one is related to funding approval. Well, this is related to funding approval. Does any member object to this being endorsed for the FC? No. Next item is progress of the Kai Tak Multipurpose Sports Complex project. Please invite the administration to join us. Are you ready, Secretary, to take us through the paper? Well, I don't want to waste time, so when the others are joining, I will go ahead. Last year in January and February, we briefed members of the panel about the planning of the MPSC, Multipurpose Sports Complex at Kai Tak. Members supported the setting up of a dedicated team under the HAB to take forward the project. In the policy address this year, the Chief Executive pointed out that advanced work will be conducted for the MPSC, and I would like to take the opportunity to report to members about the progress of the project. The MPSC will provide a main stadium with 50,000 seats and public stadium seating 4,000 spectators, and an indoor sports center. These facilities can be for international large-scale sports events. It also increases public space, office space, open space, and park areas. The HAB is proceeding with the advanced work. We have begun the environmental and traffic impact assessment. We reckon that they will be completed at the beginning of this year. January this year, we engaged a consultant to look into whether we need to increase the relax the height restriction of the main stadium to make best use of the retractable roof, and also the justification for developing a hotel. The consultant will also give us advice when it comes to various areas, say, for example, technical services, surveying, etc. Eligibility and fees for the use of the MPSC facilities will be aligned with those of existing facilities to attract higher use. The HAB will be responsible for the operating expenses of the MPSC. It will be set out in the budget 2015-16. Advanced work, including tree surveys, will go ahead, and we hope we will get funding from PWSC and the FC so that the work can start this year. At the planning stage, we will continue to liaise with various stakeholders, including users and the sports sector, so that their views can be taken into account in the planning stage. 3 members would like to ask questions: Ma Fong Kwok, Tony Tse, and Deputy Chairman. 4 minutes. And Mr. Christopher Jung. Mr. Ma. Thank you. First question. You say that this will be commissioned in 2019-20, and it's recently changed to 2020-21. So it's later, which is contrary to the expectation of the sector. Why? And can it be expedited? My second question. A lot of NSAs said that the complex and the surrounding areas should be designed in a way that are conducive for more types of sports. Say, for example, if necessary, and close the surrounding areas for cycling or some other activities. And when the water quality is improved, can water sports take place? In the designing stage, will you have in mind international standards so that international games can take place in these facilities? Because it's very rare for us to have a chance to organize international schemes. Mr. McKinley.
First of all, on the question of the timing, I think the Honourable Member is quite right. There is a delay compared to the programme that we originally presented last year. I would estimate that we're probably about 9 months behind schedule. That's due to a mixture of internal and external factors. Internally, given the scope and scale of this project, we've had a very lengthy discussion about the responsibility for the project management and the vote control of the project. And we have had to adopt 1 or 2 relatively innovative approaches to that. In that now the Home Affairs Bureau, rather than the Works Department, has taken over the vote controller role for this project. And in order to ensure that we can do that properly, we've had to appoint a technical team to give us the advice on architectural and engineering aspects, and we will also, as outlined in this paper, be appointing technical and operational consultants to ensure that we're well equipped to take forward the project management role for this project. In terms of the sports facilities, yes, we're very well aware of the interests of the sports associations in ensuring that we have the maximum number of facilities and the best possible operation to ensure that events such as cycling events, such as road racing events, will be able to take part here. For motorsports, I think that might be something more of a challenge at this particular site. But it is something that we're looking at in conjunction with 1 or 2 of the motorsports associations, including the Automobile Association, if not at the site of the complex itself, in the general Kai Tak area. Finally, in terms of the international standards and meeting that, this is crucial. It's very, very important that in order for this complex to work on the scale of the international events, that it is built to the current state-of-the-art requirements of the international sports associations. And one of the key roles of the operation consultant that we'll be hiring will be to ensure that they consult all the interested sports organisations and, where appropriate, the Asian and international federations, to ensure that these standards are met not just through the construction and the hardware, but also in the capacity of this complex to be operated to the standards expected of international competition. Thank you, Chairman.
Mr. Ma, for the major stadium, they may not be used up all the time. For example, at underground spaces near the stadiums, can we have some facilities which can be put up for use all the time?
To the design and building consultants to ensure that the maximum use is made of these areas.
Mr. Tony Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. I support this proposal, this project, and I hope that it can go ahead as soon as possible. I hope that the government can be straight and make sure that the timetable is adhered to. There may be filibustering at the LegCo members, but then such LegCo members have to be held accountable in the future for the loss as a result of the filibustering. And I would like to raise one issue for DE Trunk Road. Shin Kai Road is just bisecting the site of the MPSC. Is it a conscious choice on your part, Secretary, or do you have no choice at all having this road bisecting the site? I think this is a poor, very poor design. You have not considered the needs of the users in the future. I think this is an at-grade road proposed. Now, say, for example, in Tamar Garden, and the roads are placed beneath the Tamar Garden. So, Secretary, perhaps when you find that this is a situation, it was already too late, how come that they designed the road like that? It may have something to do with the planning and design of the road. Can you give me more information? How come that the road is designed like that? If we don't have any major activities held there, there is a lot of greening and park. And this road, the design of this road, will undermine that use, and also it will be more costly to build it. And it's a very poor design when the user's using the space. I think maybe it's already too late for me to raise this point. Also, would you consider building a hotel in East Kowloon? If I remember correctly, there are 6 plots for building hotels in the future. So will there be too many hotels in East Kowloon? And also for major events, the crowd dispersal problem. Will that pose pressure, say, on users of MTR? For example, in London, whenever there is a football or soccer ball match held, well, I can't take any subway services because there are so many people.
Issue of Road D2. The honourable member is quite right. It would be a lot better site if we didn't have Road D2 cutting right through the middle of it. Several years ago, we did have some very lengthy discussions with the Works Departments and the KITAC office on this issue. We were assured in no uncertain terms that this is an integral part of the traffic arrangements for the entire South East Kowloon KITAC development, and that this road is absolutely necessary to ensure smooth traffic flow in and around the development. There was absolutely no scope for cancelling this road. Which is unfortunate because you're right, it does make the scheme more expensive. It does require us to think of options for how to access the southern portion of the site over the road, hence the extensive podium design in the layout that you will see at the annex. This is something that we just have to live with because the traffic considerations are paramount. The Road D2 is currently under construction and we're told there is no room for changing that current position.
好，下一位係副主席。
Mr. Yu Si-wing, Deputy Chairman. Thank you, Chairman, Madam Chair, on the issue of the hotel. Well, on the whole, hotels are in short supply in Hong Kong, and by 2018, well, we are uncertain about the situation then. And it will be good to the tourism industry if we can find more land to build hotels, and that would also facilitate accommodation or meet accommodation needs of users of the MPSC. The proposal is to build a hotel of a size of an appropriate scale, of a suitable scale. Well, how many rooms are you talking about? Would the hotel include meeting facilities? Because, well, the way it is worded is rather vague. So can you be clearer on this point? A suitable scale? What do you mean by that? I would support the building of a hotel generally. Second issue about this main stadium. Some people from the concert business have talked to me, approached me, and they said that if we build the stadium, can we build facilities which can also facilitate the holding of concerts? For example, for the Hong Kong Stadium, if we hold concerts in the Hong Kong Stadium, noise nuisance is created. So when we build this main stadium at MPSC, would you also take care of the needs of concerts, Deputy? Ms. Law, rather. Thank you, Mr. Yu, for your question. Hotels. Mr. Chair also asked a question about developing a hotel here. For the planning consultant we engaged in January, one of its major tasks is to explore a suitable scale for this hotel. We know that around these work sites there are 6 plots altogether earmarked for the development of hotels. For our MPSC, if we are to build a hotel there, what should be the appropriate scale and what should be its positioning? Our principle is that the hotel will serve visiting athletes, umpires, and working staff when major events are held. And during non-event time, it will serve general visitors to Hong Kong. So we will look at the impact of the hotel to the MPSC as a whole, and the positioning and the scale of the hotel will be studied by the planning consultant. And the next step is that we would be seeking application from the town planning board to build a hotel there. That's so much for the hotel. Now, about the main stadium, the 50,000 capacity main stadium. In our design, we will certainly make sure that it can be used for multi-purposes, including concerts, major performances, and so on. How can we make sure that large concerts and major events could be held at the main stadium? This is one of the requirements set out in the tender for the contractors. Mr. Christopher Chung. Thank you, Madam Chair. The sports sector have told us that Hong Kong is running short of sports facilities. When the administration's designs the MPSC, will there be room for expansion, further expansion? It is surrounded by parks, which will be managed under the LCSD and HAB. So if facilities, sports facilities, are still running short in the future, can we expand the facilities in those green areas, park areas? Can the MPSC be expandable? Now, we would not hold major events every day of the year. So can we design such a facility so that they could be used by visitors and tourists during the ordinary times when the sports or events are not being held? Hong Kong, we lack landmark facilities. So can we come up with a better design here so that the facilities can be used for public enjoyment during non-event times? And there are views or suggestions that some facilities may be installed for a major event on a temporary basis. And can these facilities, say this, the swimming pools and so on, can be used and for people during non-competition times? So can you be very flexible with your design of the facilities? Lastly, for the facilities in the surrounding areas, for example, the MPSC is near the waterfront. Can you reserve some space on the waterfront for doing water sports activities and putting up water sports facilities? The water body there is rather calm, and so I think we can plan ahead for such facilities, and we can plan ahead for transport facilities as well. I think this place is better than the WKCD. The WKCD is so vast in areas, difficult to make planning because of that. And for this plot, it's relatively smaller in compared to WKCD. I support the proposal and the project generally, and please build some flexibility into your design, and you should give more thoughts on building facilities which can meet with the sports sector. We would seriously consider all of your suggestions. Mr. Tan Ka-Piu. Madam Chair, Secretary, so I was late, and you mentioned a sum of $23 billion for the project, and we are now just doing advance works. What is the latest budget estimate for the project? That's number one. Number two, this is not an infrastructure works project or transport project. This is a building project. There have been earlier reports saying that the government normally does a better job in managing costs in building projects. You will be engaging independent building services surveyor to make good estimates on building materials and manpower and so on. So does this kind of model apply to the building of the MPSC so that our minds can be put more at ease? Because we're talking about a project exceeding $10 billion. We don't hope to see a delay or a budget overruns. Ms. Law, thank you, Mr. Tang, for your question. Project estimate that was drawn up in 2009. The RHSD had conducted a technical feasibility study. At that time, the estimated is $18.1 billion. Now, from 2009 up to now, following the rising construction costs and also the fluctuations in price index, in September 2014, the project estimate is $25 billion. And in the year ahead, the administration will work together with a consultant based on the latest planning and also the changes in construction prices. Will review the project estimate. So the amount that I mentioned was based on projections calculated on the basis of the 2009 figure. This is just a preliminary estimate, and in February we would make a detailed estimate again. Mr. Tang, you were very right in pointing out that we would engage an independent building services consultant to review the project estimate.
In 2009 and 2010 or 2011, for large-scale projects, they said that, well, the situation is completely different and we need to start the tender again. Oil prices drop, and as a result, maybe raw material prices will drop too. Hong Kong dollars has got stronger. Will you take that into account? And the independent quantity surveyor, I hope that you will give us more information as to how the project estimate can be done in a better way. Second round, Mr. Tony Tse. I would like to follow up on my questions in the first round. Well, my question was about roads. I really would like to know why. It may be too late now, but I heard that they're told by works, so it's actually planning. So how come it's for works to decide the alignment of the road? The current design is that it's not very good to use and is expensive. So in the end, you may win the battle and lose the war. I know that project estimate has been increasing. And in paragraph 8, it says that when it comes to large-scale activities, 80% of the spectators will use the 2 new MTR stations. You have to take this into account because during major events, there will be a lot of people. It's not just the 2 stations, it's the entire line. There is already a certain patronage level using the Sha Tin Central Link anyway. Other countries face the same problem. Say, for example, the Wembley Stadium, the Wimbledon in London, during major events, there are already a lot of spectators using public transport. Can you give me more information? Who is to take this question?
Chairman, first of all, on the question of the going back to the question of Road D2, I think rather than try and speak for my planning and engineering colleagues, it's easier if maybe we provide some written information after the meeting that we can consult my colleagues on, and we can provide more of the background to that. As regards the dispersal, perhaps I can ask my colleague, the Principal Assistant Secretary, to talk a little bit more about the dispersal after major events at the main stadium.
好，羅小姐。
多謝謝議員嘅問題。
Ms. Law. The MTR service will be the major public transportation mode for the area. Several months ago, we have started liaising with the MTRCL. So they are fully aware of the fact that 80% of the spectators will use the MTR stations after major events. People may arrive at different times, but at the end of the event, within half an hour, they will leave. So 80%, about 40,000 people will leave the venue So the MTRCL is fully aware of our requirements. Maybe the frequency of trains will be adjusted. The number of cars may be changed. They may use 6-car trains, 8-car trains instead of 6-car trains. Next, Mr. Ma Fong Kwok. Just now, Mr. Yu Siwing mentioned that some bodies that are related to major scale, say for example concerts, that they have made their demand, and the administration said that they are going to take that into account. How can they ensure that the consultation mechanism is effective? That is, that you are able to identify future stakeholders to consult them, and the consultation itself will not delay progress. So what are the plans of the administration? Will there be a proper mechanism designed to effectively collect views? Who is to take this question, PS? Yes.
The reasons that we'll be engaging operating consultants. Obviously, we need the experience of the operating consultants to assess what is an appropriate future operating environment, but also to ensure that we consult all the potential users of the complex in a timely fashion. I think it's very, very important to emphasise, and one of the other members also raised the point, that there is an impression that we're just building a stadium and nothing else here. In fact, this is supposed to be a complex with multiple uses, hence the multi-purpose aspect of it. We feel that there is scope for this to be something that everyone in Hong Kong can use, and therefore all the venues and the entire area should be capable of multiple purpose uses. And if necessarily, yes, there should be a mechanism for ensuring appropriate consultation so that the site can be maximised. It's a 28-hectare site. It's a very large scope of project. It's an expensive project. And I think it's incumbent upon us working with the consultants to ensure that the best use is made of this site.
But how would this operate? I mean, in terms of the mechanism you have just mentioned, is the Bureau going to manage this, or you will assign the consultant to manage it?
Ultimately, thank you, Chairman, ultimately it's the Bureau's responsibility. We are engaging the consultant. We have to make sure that the consultant understands what are the objectives of this project, not just through the design and construction, but crucially through the operation phase as well. So it will be up to us to give very clear instructions to the consultant, the operation consultant, and also in future to the Design, Build and Operate Consortium on how we expect this centre to be used. In terms of the actual mechanism, this is something that we will develop with the operating consultants.
Okay, thank you.
For this, NPSC is very much awaited by the sports sector and the performing arts sector as well. I hope you will closely liaise with stakeholders. Are there any other questions on this item? If not, this is the end of this item. Chairman. Well, we have to forward the funding approval proposal to PWSC and FC members. Do you object to the Bureau doing so? No, we will endorse the project. Thank you. Last item. Any other business? There being no other business, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.